In every house you present to sell insurance, a sale will fall into one of these three buckets. You will make a new sale for somebody who doesn't have insurance. You will add on to existing insurance in place, or you will replace an insurance policy. Welcome to the Final Expense Sales Academy, the hub for mastering the art of final expense life insurance sales. If you're looking to become a pro in the final expense industry, you're in the right place. My name is Kyle Williams, and I'm your host to go through the ins and outs of the final expense business, from tips to tricks to industry insights. We cover everything you need to close deals with confidence, provide true value to your clients, and become a better insurance agent. So hit that subscribe button. Let's get started on elevating your sales game one video at a time. Guys, in this episode, we are going to talk about the three buckets that every final expense life insurance sale will fall into. In every house you present to sell insurance, a sale will fall into one of these three buckets. You will make a new sale for somebody who doesn't have insurance. You will add on to existing insurance in place, or you will replace an insurance policy. Whenever you're sitting with a proposed insured and building your presentation and your case to try to sell them an insurance policy, you need to be figuring out which bucket that they will fall into to make your angle and make your case to make a sale to build your presentation. Your angle is the opportunity that you see that would make sense to them to make a sale. Whenever you determine what your angle is, you make the case and you make the presentation and you go after that angle, so that way the proposed insured may buy an insurance policy from you. Now, every sale that you make in a house is going to fall into one of those three buckets. And as we mentioned before, they're going to be a new insurance policy sale, adding on to an existing insurance policy in place, or you're going to be replacing an insurance policy. Everything falls into one of those three buckets, and it goes down from there. Once you determine which bucket that we're going to fill up and make a run at with your presentation and your pitch, that's what you do. So how do you determine which bucket that they fall into to go after? It's pretty simple. You just have to ask the right questions and listen to their responses. So let's break it down. The new insurance policy sale to somebody who doesn't have an insurance policy. The first bucket. This bucket is for the individual who has no insurance policy in place. How do you determine if the proposed insured fits into this bucket? You ask a question. Do you have any insurance policy in place? Preferably early on in the presentation process. This is something you should do with every client. This is the simplest because it is very black and white. They either have an insurance policy or they don't have an insurance policy. Some things to do, and make sure you get the sale whenever you identify somebody's in the bucket. Determine exactly what they're looking for. Are they looking for burial coverage, cremation coverage, mortgage protection, taking care of just final bills? Whatever they say, what are they looking to get an insurance policy for? And determine how much coverage that they would like to have. Ask them how much coverage do they want. If they cannot articulate exactly how much coverage they want, back into it by what their wishes are and help build the case for that. The second bucket, adding on to existing insurance policy that is currently in place. This bucket is for an individual who has a current insurance policy already in place, and they want just a little bit more insurance to take care of whatever it may be. How do I determine if the proposed insured fits into this bucket? You just ask them at some point early on in the process, do they have any insurance policy in place? Preferably pretty early on in the process. Once that they confirm that they do, it is best to get the policy and review it with them so that way we know exactly how much coverage that they have. This bucket and the replacing insurance bucket can be a little bit more complicated compared to the new sale bucket. because it's not quite black and white, because you can go either way. Oftentimes when they already have insurance, a current insurance policy, we just don't know exactly which way to go. Are we adding on, or we're going to replace? This is why it is pertinent to get their current insurance policy or get definitive facts from the insurance company of exactly what they have in place, because this will help you move forward through this process. If it's not clear, it's going to be very hard to get that sale. So now that you've identified exactly what they have and you determine I'm just going to add on, here are some things to do. Determine exactly what they're looking to accomplish. Why do they need more insurance? It's a great question to ask. Are they looking for to have just a burial policy and their other insurance policy is just a life insurance policy? Are they looking for a cremation insurance policy? Just an extra policy to leave extra money behind to the family? A policy to pay off the house? A policy to pay off any other debts? So much more. Like, whatever they say, ask the question. Help them determine how much more coverage that they would feel like they need to have if they don't just simply state, I want X amount more coverage. Walk it back, try to figure out exactly how much more coverage that they're looking to have and help them land on a number. By creating an emotional attachment to the extra coverage, it becomes a little bit easier to build a case to get more insurance. The third bucket, replacing a current insurance policy in place. This bucket is for an individual who has a current insurance policy in place and wants to replace it with a better policy that you have to offer. How do I determine if the proposed insured fits into this bucket? Well, pretty simple. You ask them, do they have a current insurance policy in place? Once they affirm that they do, preferably early on in the process, it is best to review that insurance policy with them, get the facts out, exactly what they have in place. As I stated before, this bucket and the adding on to existing insurance policy bucket can kind of cross over. It can be difficult to determine which bucket that you want to go after to try to attempt to make the sale. But you just have to make a case and determine which one you want to do with either a gut feeling, the signs that you see with the current policy, whatever it may be. There's a lot of information there. Now, if you've identified that you're going to replace the current insurance policy in place, that you're going to try to do that, here are some things to do. Determine what they're looking to try to accomplish with the extra insurance or your life insurance policy that you're proposing to replace their current one with. Are they wanting more coverage? Are they wanting to get a policy that has day one coverage versus one that has a 2-year wait? Are they wanting enough coverage to take care of burial, cremation, a cheaper policy, or wanting cash value out of their policy? There's a lot of different variables there to replace an insurance policy. And make sure that if you're replacing an insurance policy, you're leaving them in a better place than where you found them. When they already have insurance policy in place, it is best to help them articulate how much more coverage that they would want to have, if they want any more. This helps create the emotional attachment to the new policy, so that way it's a little bit easier to leave the old policy. Now, as I mentioned before, the two buckets of adding on insurance and replacing an existing insurance policy in place run very closely together because both of them are a situation where they already have insurance policies in place. So how do you determine which one to go after when they both run so closely together? And what do you do if the one that you choose to do doesn't work? Great question. To answer the question, which one to go after, it comes down to experience. And it's not always 100% clear. And we cannot teach experience here. It just comes from doing. But what I can tell you to do is go with your gut instinct and build a solid case. Here's the good news. If you choose an option and they do not bite on the angle, you can always back up and go with the second option. So what do I mean by that? Here's an example. Let's say you're sitting with somebody who already has insurance and you determine that you're going to try to replace their current insurance policy with yours. You get all the way to the end and they're just not biting on it. You can always back up, build the case for them to just add on, and then make another run at it. So you scrap your plan A and go with plan B. It still gives you an opportunity to make a sale. So there are 3 buckets that every life insurance sale will fall into, and these are it. So when you're sitting there with the client, try to identify which bucket that you're going to do. And this just gives you a visual of how you're going to try to build a case for an angle for a sale, so that way you can walk away with the policy in every house that you go into. If you have any questions, comment below. Be sure to subscribe so that way you catch all our latest content, and share it with your friends, share it on social media, and we will see you in the next episode.